Welcome back to Two Peas in the Kitchen.
Today we're going to make one of our favorite things, focaccia. We have tested tons of recipes, hard ones, ones that require an overnight proof, easy ones. This is the easiest recipe that we have come up with.
And the best one, so stay tuned and make sure you watch through the whole video.
Okay, so for all of our dough recipes, we just want to remind you how important it is to use a kitchen scale and weigh your ingredients. It really does make a difference. Here we have active yeast. This has already been weighed. It's 9 grams. We're going to just put that in this bowl right here. Okay, and here we have, this is lukewarm water. You don't have to stress too much about the temperature of the water. It just feels a little bit warm to the touch. I have put my yeast onto the kitchen scale. I've tared it out and I'm going to go ahead and pour in the water. We're looking for 550 grams. I've got the scale back to 0 and we're going to need 20 grams of honey. So I'm going to go ahead and just put that right into the bowl and just slow down a little bit when I get closer to 20. And there we go. So in this recipe, the honey is going to activate the yeast with the warm water. Sometimes you use sugar in certain recipes, and we really love that this recipe uses honey. So we'll take that off the scale. We're just going to whisk that together, get it sort of combined, and then we're just going to let it sit on the counter for approximately 5 minutes. And you'll see after 5 minutes that it'll start to bubble up and look a little bit foamy on top.
Okay, so it's been about 5 minutes since our water, yeast, and honey mixture has been sitting, and you can see it's nice and foamy. It started to get a little creamy and it's nice and foamy, so that means your yeast is good. If you don't notice any foaminess and the water looks kind of clear, your yeast might not be good. It might be expired, so make sure, if you don't have good yeast, you won't have good focaccia. So next, what we're going to do is we have 625 grams of bread flour. You can also use all-purpose flour as well, but bread flour will give you a little bit more of an elastic texture, which we like. It's personal preference, so you can even experiment with both, but we're going to go ahead and use that. And then here I have a tablespoon of kosher salt. I'm just going to go ahead and plop it right in. So I like to use this nice stiff spatula. I'm just going to slowly pour everything in here, the dry ingredients. Just our flour and our salt, carefully. And focaccia is pretty forgiving as long as you have a good recipe, such as this. So now I'm just going to stir everything up until all the dry flour has been incorporated. And then we're going to go ahead and put our dough ball right into a big bowl, which I'll show you shortly. That has 4 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil. Okay, so now I've mixed everything up and all the dry flour is gone. This is approximately what you want it to look like. And I'm going to dump this carefully right into this big bowl. So get a nice big bowl. I have 4 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil. So very carefully, I'm going to loosen up the dough ball and put it right in. Be careful not to splatter the olive oil. And then I'm going to use my hands and turn it around so that everything is coated in the olive oil. It does not have to be perfect. I'm just going to go like that. Actually, that's probably fine. 1 turn. And now we're going to cover this after I clean my hands. I'm just going to put just a kitchen towel right over it. You'll want to keep it covered, put it in a warm place for about an hour and a half or until the size of the dough has about doubled, and you'll see it gets nice and poofy. We'll show you shortly what that looks like. The reason we love this recipe is because it rises quickly, and you can have fresh focaccia in a matter of just a few hours. You're not waiting very long at all.
Okay, so we have a second batch of our focaccia. This is what it looks like after it's been proofing for about 90 minutes. You can see that this has doubled in size. It's very light and airy. You can see the air bubbles and the air pockets inside of it. and it already is starting to smell amazing. So this is what we're gonna do. I have a stiff spatula here, and I'm just gonna go around the bowl. As I do that, you'll see it start to deflate. Some of the air is gonna come out of it. We're just gonna kind of release it from the side of the bowl. And you just wanna kind of do that and kind of lift from the bottom to the top and kind of fold it over itself. There should be lots of olive oil kind of hiding at the bottom there, and we want that to kind of get mixed into the surface of our dough. Okay, here we have, this is approximately a 10 by 13 or 10 by 14 inch pan. Our preference is to do focaccia in a metal pan. We just like the texture of how that comes out on the bottom. It gets really, really crispy, but it's really personal preference. You could also do this in a Pyrex, a glass pan. It's really whatever your personal preference is. You don't need to be too stressed about that. It will work in either one. But now what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our dough and we're just gonna get it right into this pan, and it should, we'll try to get that leftover dough and olive oil in there with it. It might look to you like there's a lot of olive oil happening here on the top and on the bottom. You can see that we've also put about 2 extra tablespoons of olive oil into the bottom of this pan here, but the dough will absorb all of that, and that's what gives it that really nice crispy crust on the bottom and the top. So this is actually going to go through a second rise, but before we do a second rise, we want to kind of gently pick it up and stretch it a little bit so that it just starts to take on a little bit of a rectangle shape. As it takes its second rise, it will fill the pan. So you'll see that that actually happens pretty quickly, but I do sort of like to stretch it out just a little bit and give it a little help in reaching the shape that we're looking for. So after I've done that, I'm going to cover this again with a dish towel. You want to put this in a nice warm corner of your kitchen, and we're going to let it rise. It takes about another half hour. You'll see how quickly it will fill the entire pan and start to poof up a little bit more.
Okay, so now our dough has been sitting for about 30 minutes, and take a look at how beautiful it is. It's nice and risen and poofy. It filled the entire pan. You can still see the olive oil on top. And we're gonna add a tiny bit more. So what I did was I put a little bit of olive oil into this little tiny bowl. I'm gonna stick my fingertips just in the bowl, and then you're gonna wanna put dimples all over the top of the dough. And you can also push the dough over to the side gently if you can. This is just traditionally, it's very soft. So I'm just gonna very gently do that all over. You don't have to go crazy. It's actually pretty satisfying, and you can see all the beautiful air bubbles, and that's what's going to give you that nice, beautiful texture on the inside. Nice open texture that a good focaccia should have. I'm going to wash my hands now. We're going to do the seasoning on top now. Okay, now we're going to season the top, and you can add whatever your heart desires. Today we're going to do garlic powder, Italian seasoning, and a fleur de sel, which is a lighter salt. So I'm just going to go and put a little bit of garlic salt right in my palm, just so that I don't dump everything out. I'm just going to sprinkle, I should say, gently over the whole focaccia. You don't have to add a ton. Okay, it's good. And then some Italian seasoning. Use your favorite, or any of your favorite herbs. You can use oregano. You can use basil. This one has a mixture of everything. All the good stuff. So generously sprinkle the top of it evenly throughout. I think I'm going to add a little, I think it needs a little more. And then don't forget the salt. I think it adds a nice special touch. So I'm just gonna, this is a nice light salt. You don't have to add, I'm not measuring anything out, as you can see. I'm just gonna sprinkle it right on top. You really can't screw it up, I don't think, unless you add half a cup of salt. We don't want to do that. Look how beautiful it looks already. And next, we're going to put it right in a 450-degree oven for about 20 minutes, 20, 25 minutes or so, until the tops start to get a little bit golden brown. You don't want to overdo it because you don't want to dry focaccia, but we'll show you exactly what it looks like at the end.
Okay, look at this. Our focaccia is done. It smells amazing. It took about 20 minutes. You have to kind of keep an eye on it once you get to about 20 minutes, just to make sure that it doesn't get overdone. So now it should pop out of this pan really easily. We like to cool it on a wire rack. So let's see if I can kind of, just pops right out. And we want it to stay nice and crispy on the bottom, which is why it's great to get it on a wire rack so that it doesn't get soggy on the bottom. And we're just gonna let that cool all the way, and then we will slice it. Okay, it's the moment of truth. Our focaccia is done. It's cooled. We've sliced 2 small slices off, and we're gonna taste it.
Smells amazing.
It smells amazing.
We're gonna show you the texture here. This is what it should look like. I'm gonna stop talking for a second so you can hear the crunch. Oh, actually, my microphone.
So
look at the open texture.
This has really become one of our most favorite things to make. We're gonna taste it now.
Oh my God.
The garlic
powder is
so
delicious, and the herbs.
This is so easy to make. I mean, there's no overnight business. You could just decide a couple hours before you need it that you want to make it, and that's it. One quick thing is, if you have this whole big piece of focaccia and you're not going to eat it all, it will keep very well in the freezer. Let it cool all the way. Cut the piece that you don't want, wrap it up with a little bit of parchment inside a foil or a little plastic bag, or put it in a baggie and get the air out of it, and stick it in the freezer. And then when you're ready to eat it again, you just take it out, bring it to room temperature, and then stick it back in the oven. I think you did that the other day at what, 450?
450, yeah.
Put it in, just let it crunch back up and heat up, and it does really well right out of the freezer.
Absolutely.
So since it makes such a big piece, that's not a bad way to keep it. So we really hope you're going to try this. Give us a comment if you decide to try it. It's awesome. It's our favorite easy
foolproof.
thing.
It's honestly foolproof. Just like our country bread. If you haven't checked out our video, check that out as well. And if you want more breads, let us know in the comments below, because we enjoy making them and we enjoy eating.
So we'll hope to see you again next time.
Bye for now.